What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Y'all have been killing it lately with coming in with the subs, hanging out, so hopefully you guys have been liking the builds, which are continuing with the Blastwave Striders, a new exotic for our Titan, which can be used on our Prismatic as well as our Stasis Titan. Totally up to you. Gonna give you both sides of the build as well as some artifact mods that you can throw on this bad boy so you can clear out content with any type of difficulty with ease, going into raids, dungeons, or into onslaught, etc. So let's get into it. Blastwave Striders right here. Gain resistance to your explosives. Defeating targets charges this armor. Once charged, slide or deal damage with that self-explosion to rocket yourself backwards and blast a deadly shrapnel swarm of stasis crystals on impact. You also gain a nice little bit of frost armor as well, so we're going to play into that. So you can keep that up for a little bit of extra protection with this build, but you can see when you slide up or do damage to yourself with whatever it may be, explosive wide, grenade, rocket, sidearms that do a little bit of explosive damage, you can get that shoot up, creates a bunch of stasis shards around us so we can get even more of that AoE going on, get ad clear, plus create a bunch of different stasis debuffs for us, slow as well as freezing, getting those diamond lances. It's absolutely super fun to go into. So first we're going to cover the Prismatic Titan, and then we're going to cover the Stasis subclass that we're going over. So with this, either way, I'm using Glacial Quake. You can really throw on any of these that you want, but I like having the Stasis Synergy, Towering Barricade, Strafe Lift, which I do like having Frenzied Blade with Consecration on this, so when you do slide to get Consecration to proc and our exotic is full, you're going to slide up super high, but then you can cancel it obviously with Consecration, slam down, get those defeats, create a big explosion of your fire, as well as shattering the stasis crystals from your grenade, anything else that's around, frozen especially from the legs that you have that shoot out those stasis projectiles. Consecration as well, like I said, with the Diamond Lance to create even more freeze around the area, giving us a little bit of ability to create more of those stasis shards for us, which you will see why in a second. Facet of Courage is our first one right here. Arc Solar Void abilities do increase damage against those affected by the darkness debuff, so all the darkness debuff that we're getting with the freeze and slow, Consecration is going to do a little bit more damage. Facet of Purpose, picking up those orbs and power, going to get us that frost armor with the subclass that we have. So like I said, building it into the exotic boots, we're going to get stacks from that, as well as picking up the orbs of power. So very good way to stay alive in that end game with that frost armor. And well, we got protection right here. When we have that transcendent, we become a more resistance to the damage, and then even when we're not transcendent, it is a little bit less effective, but still very good for that end game. So very nice. We got Facet of Awakening right here, rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness or super final blows, generate elemental pickups of the matching type. So for us, we're going to get a bunch of different stasis crystals with this build, some tangles as well with it, so be on the lookout for all of those, because we're going to be able to get our melee back, plus we can get that transcendent energy very quickly with this build, with either the Consecration or all the freezing we're going on, plus the tangles for the darkness side of it. Helping with this build, we're going to have Facet of Ruin. We're going to have a weapon that has Incandescent on, so that'll help with our solar ignitions, plus we're going to be freezing everything obviously with this build, whether it be with our exotic boots, with that Diamond Lance, or with our super that we got. So very fun little combination there. Then Facet of Command, just helping us to get a little reload in our weapons, as well as stability, aim assist, airborne effectiveness when we freeze targets. So a bunch of different ways that this is going to get procced as well. Now when we move on to the stasis side of things, obviously we got our Behemoth, a Towering Barricade, Strafe Lift with Shiver Strike, and for me, I like the Glacial Grenade with this because we're going to be using a bunch of different grenade launchers on this build, as well as a rocket powered sidearm. Again, we're going to have a Stasis Lance, these Diamond Lances, to create a bunch of different frozen targets for us, as well as Tectonic Harvest. So all of those stasis shards that we are going to be able to collect, going to help us to stack up that frost armor, which we again are going to be getting as well from our exotic boots when we get that explosion to go off. Now we're going to have a Whisper of Fissures right here, increase the damage of the size and the burst of those stasis crystals or frozen targets. Again, going to be everywhere, especially with the stasis side of this build, but even Prismatic, don't have to worry about that because we're running stasis with these fragments here. Whisper of Conduction, all of those stasis shards that we are creating from these stasis crystals or frozen targets are going to track to our position, which will again help us to track and proc that Tectonic Harvest. Whisper of Shards right here, temporary boost our grenade recharge rate after we shadow a crystal. Also gives us a little boost into that shattering effect of the crystals, so pairs well with the Stasis synergy. Whisper of Chains right here, defeating targets while we have Frost Armor. It's going to have us a chance to get Stasis Shards, which will just feed right back into it by giving us even more Frost Armor. So with the Stasis side of this, definitely a little bit more survivability because you're going to have Frost Armor up literally the entire time, but you also have it up a decent amount on the Prismatic side. And then last but not least, people got mad at me last time for the way that I say impetus because of the way that my accent is. Impetus. So there you go, lads. Dealing damage with Stasis melee reloads our stowed weapons, grants us temporary boost to ready speed. Definitely very, very nice because we're going to be using some breach load grenade launcher in our new exotic, as well as a wave frame Stasis heavy that'll help us to proc both our exotic and do a little bit of damage. So before we go over the mods on this bad boy with the armor, we're going to cover the weapons that I was using, which is our new exotic grenade launcher right here. So we're going to get the Vestial Alchemy, where when we get the feats, we're going to have it be able to collect that, stack up where we're going to have either special or heavy ammo to be able to get generated from it. So very good for like end game content when you need ammo or GM stuff like that. This is going to be very, very crazy, as well as Harvester Spike right here, dealing those final blows with the weapon, generate vestiges from the target, impaling a more powerful combatant, creates a steady stream. So this is how we're going to get our vestige to proc, but pairs perfect with shattering the crystals, as well as this grenade launcher being that kinetic damage and primary right there. We're going to be able to create a nice little explosion right next to us that is going to get our blast wave to proc very, very easily, almost like using the mountaintop, which of course could be an option. For me, I'm going with ambient action right here, so we can pair this with the prismatic, getting that facet of ruin to proc because of incandescent. Then we're going to have strategist as well, so we can get our class ability back. But these little explosions, when you do them next to you, can also get your exotic to proc. And then this right here, one of my favorite legendary grenade launchers that we have, because it is a compressed wave frame, creating envious as well as chain reaction. So we're going to get a bunch of stasis explosions. They can wipe out all the stasis crystals for us, create a bunch of orbs because of what we have on our mods. Plus, this thing is going to get a little bit of damage when it's close to us, which will help us to proc our exotic legs as well. So all three of our weapons, without doing a bunch of damage on us, is going to help us to proc those legs, instead of using something like a normal grenade launcher or rocket, where it's going to have the chance to do a lot of damage on you. This right here as a heavy weapon is way, way less damage unless you shoot it like directly at you somehow and you get some ricochet going on. But this, with the combination of all of these, very, very good little build. Now for the mods that I'm going to be running on this bad boy, we're going to use Solar Siphon, Harmonic Siphon, as well as Powerful Friends to spend that armor charge, plus creating as many power orbs as we can so it can help with our subclasses that we got on. For me, I'm going to go with Harmonic Loader because most of the time I'm going to be using our exotic with that stasis in the kinetic slot. We got Impact Induction with Focusing Strike right here, so we get our class ability as well as our grenade back when doing damage with our melee. Arc Resistance, totally up to you, whatever you're going into. These can just be switched on and off depending on the content. On our boots right here, Head Recuperation as well as Absolution to get back our abilities, as well as give us a little bit of health from all the orbs of power that we're picking up, as well as Stasis Holster. So when I am using my rocket powered sidearm, both my exotic as well as my heavy will reload for us. So that's a nice little bit of action, as well as Powerful Attraction, where when we do throw down our class ability, all the orbs near us gonna come on in, get us to charge up our super, as well as some of our fragments, as well as those aspects that we are going to be using. We got a bomber right here to get back our grenade when we use our class ability, as well as Reaper to help us create even more potent orbs of power for this, getting us that abilities, like I said, our super, and getting those facets and artifact mods to proc. All right, last but certainly not least, right here we got ourselves the Apothecary Satchel with our artifact. We got Overload Breach Grenade for our little bit of kinetic stasis grenade launcher, one with Frost right here while Frost Armor is active. Stasis weapon, gain reload stability as well, so this is going to be nice because we're going to have Frost Armor up on both the stasis as well as prismatic versions. This right here, not going to get procced really for us, but we're going to be using it for the boost in stasis weapon damage that is slowed or has spawned those stasis shards, so a nice little bit of there. We got ourselves to gather stasis shards, grants the crystalline converter right here, which powers our next stasis melee to create stasis crystals equal to the number of stacks that we have. So this will specifically be for the Stasis subclass, but we had these spots anyway, so I threw it on there. Armor of Aramis. Frost armor is active. Taking critical damage creates a slowing freeze burst, which is super nice for ad management, or if you're getting chased by something a little bit stronger. Shattering those stasis crystal, release a shard of ice that damage and slows targets. So you'll see that as the gameplay at the beginning as well as right now. After I go over these last couple, you can see the little explosions of stasis shards coming off our exotic, our grenade, everything like that. Concussive reload, definitely super nice with either our heavy as well as that stasis kinetic grenade launcher that we got. Using the grenade launcher to damage boss, champion, or break shields weakens them. Good for that damage output. Kinetic impacts, dealing damage with those power grenade launchers, causes them to emit a damaging shockwave that can stun unstoppables. Plus, very good for doing damage on champions, bosses, stuff like that. Get the little rank and files out of the way for you. So, nice little combination there. And then Brain Freeze, our last one. Frozen targets become surrounded by a chilling frog, which slows combatants that are not already slowed. So, nice little synergy with either way that we go, because we're going to be freezing targets with both Stasis as well as Prismatic. We're going to get those Stasis lances everywhere. We're going to get a bunch of different Stasis shards, Stasis crystals to proc with just our exotic, no matter what these subclasses on. Obviously, you're going to have a little bit more of that Stasis synergy on just the Stasis subclass, but we have a lot going on with the Prismatic side too, because you become Transcendent. You got your super that does a good amount of damage. You got that Facet of Ruin, creates a nice big explosion for you. You can reload your weapons with that freezing. So, lot of good potentials for both sides, whether it be Stasis or Prismatic. So, totally up to you whichever you take into that content. But like I said, can go through stuff very easily. Normal content like Onslaught, just going through strikes, whatever it may be, but very fun little combinations of builds. So hopefully you guys like these too. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a bunch, helps out the channel. Plus you guys will get those notifications if you slap that bell, so you don't miss out on any of these builds here. Updates we got coming out on the channel with the Destiny world, whether it be Revenant or hopefully maybe some Destiny Rising in the future with that mobile game coming out. But again, I appreciate all you guys for coming back to the channel, supporting it as much as y'all have lately, because I know a lot of people jumped the Destiny ship with the first episode that we got, but I do think we had a lot of potential here with this episode specifically and what's to come in the roadmap. So hopefully y'all stick around for that. Again, I appreciate all you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.